Hey everyone, this is SnatchGaming. I'm Mike, and there's really nothing better in the action genre the last few generations than Ninja Gaiden Black, or Ninja Gaiden Sigma if you're on the PS2. The control is perfect. Everything is well done. The difficulty is definitely up there, but everything is always fair. And if you're not so much into hard games, you can also go to the sequel, which presents a decent challenge, but is more along the lines of what we're all usually used to. Which brings me to Ninja Gaiden 3, which came out in 2012, which was obviously the third installment in the series, and the same team from Tecmo that worked on the previous two games, Team Ninja, worked on this one. So this was going to be a day one purchase for me. I love these games. I think they're classics. However, when the reviews came out, I was shocked to see that they were mediocre to bad. Now, I don't want to put all my stock into reviews, but when something is being panned across the board, I think you should take notice and maybe not pull the trigger so quickly. But in all honesty, with the same people involved, I'm not sure what could have really gone wrong. So I went into this review with high hopes. So I want to see if Ninja Gaiden 3 is exactly what the critics said it was, or if it's much ado about nothing and it's another great installment. So let's check it out. Ninja Gaiden 3 begins with some sort of foreshadowing scene with main character Ryu Hayabusa, presumably killing someone or something, followed by an encounter with a boss-like monster, the conclusion of which is left unknown, at least for the time being. I have to admit at this point I was worried already. Why is Hayabusa taking his mask off, and what in the holy hell are QTEs doing in a Ninja Gaiden game? A series of games that's prided itself on exceptional controls has QTEs now? This is a glorified cutscene, though, so I'm not too worried. As we view the game's first proper cutscene, we learn that some government agency is trying to enlist Hayabusa to help them with some sort of global threat they don't quite understand yet. Hayabusa doesn't seem too keen on the idea, but the G-Man that called for the meeting informs him it's in his best interest to get involved, because the group is specifically targeting Ryu himself. The connection isn't explained or made clear, but this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what is frankly a ludicrous storyline. When we eventually get to throw down with some enemies in London, things start to feel familiar, but only to a point. It certainly looks like Ninja Gaiden stylistically, but it sure as hell doesn't feel like it. The camera zooms in for kill shots, but often way too close, and it unintentionally breaks up the flow of the action. Also, where the hell is my character? The level is dark, my enemies are wearing dark colors, I'm wearing black, there's 8 of us on screen right now, where the hell am I? There's also a segment where smoke is put down to give you cover, a ninja wearing black jumping around in a smoke-filled area. This level is terribly designed and not a good indication of things to come. I'm already starved for a different locale and the game just started. Then we get to one of the bread and butter aspects of what makes the series so special. A huge spider robot looking thing crashes onto the street, so naturally you rush up to it and... no, you actually don't. You're told to run away, down an alley. So the big scary robot can't hurt your meager ninja self, apparently.
Over there, run! Hayabusa, get out of there!
I'm sorry I'm focusing so much on the very beginning of a full-fledged title, but I was in disbelief when this happened. What a letdown. You're the most badass ninja in the history of video games. You've encountered and destroyed all manner of enemies, human and otherwise, and you're running away from the very first interesting enemy in the game. I'm quickly starting to lose faith in Team Ninja, and again, the goddamn game just started. At this point and throughout the game, you're introduced to a handful of mechanics that let you progress through the environment, the first one of which is climbing. The climbing controls feel extremely mushy. You'll always be wishing you could climb faster, and sometimes missing prompts because the mechanic just doesn't feel right. Moving while hanging from ropes is arguably worse. Speaking of prompts, you'll see them constantly throughout the game no matter how many times you perform the same action unless you turn them off. Though you'll need them every once in a while because otherwise it'll be totally unclear that it's now time to bust out your shurikens and cling to a wall, for example. None of these mechanics feel natural either. It's very clear when they occur that the developers said to themselves, okay, we have to put a wall jump here, or let's put a tightrope here because we haven't had one in a while. None of it is necessary, and it's woefully apparent how easily they could have left most of them out and replaced them with staircases. At one point early on, there was wall running and then flagpole swinging right after. I thought they might go for a ripoff of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, which I would have been all for compared to what they've done here. The action is a mess. This is what you'll be doing most of the time, and it's just not acceptable, especially when compared to previous installments. They took the lazy way out here and bombard you with far too many enemies, most of which are incredibly bland. Good thing this cheap move is a couple of button presses away. As mentioned, you can't see what the hell's going on half the time. Part of that is your character blending in, like I said, but the other culprit is the unforgivable camera. Quite honestly, this camera belongs in an N64 game. It's that fucking bad. You'll find yourself trying desperately to face the action sometimes, and after quick strikes, you're often left standing with your back to everyone in a corner with no idea what's behind you. Also, the camera constantly pulls in the direction it wants to go. You can't spin it around at will. It's abysmal and a major step back when it was rarely a problem in the original game in 2004. There's no roll dodge this time around, it's a dash now, which feels too loose. There's a moment of total immobility when coming out of the dash, so chaining things together is an issue. There are no weapons to buy or unlock in this installment either, which is another head-shaking omission. Of course, in terms of getting through the game, that's not much of a problem. In yet another baffling decision, the developers ratcheted down the difficulty below anything resembling Ninja Gaiden Black's. If you activate your Ninpo or Ryu's blood arm thing, you'll clear at least the majority of enemies off the screen, and the designers even cheat their own game in your favor. I've had the blood arm ability activated a few times randomly when I was near death, but also at the end of a battle, as if the game is nudging you along artificially. There's no learning curve here, no faith necessary in your own abilities. The game is structured to baby the player when things get tough. The bosses aren't even anything special. You'll fight helicopters and airplanes a half dozen times, then some more familiar oversized bosses akin to what we've seen before in the series. They're mostly as easy as the rest of the game though, and one literally charges and trips on its own 2 feet so you can get your shots in. More lazy design. The storytelling in Ninja Gaiden 3 is one of the most amazing things you'll ever experience. Amazing because I have no idea how anyone with a grasp of language could write this. If a story is bad, it's just boring or maybe has some plot holes or some occurrences that might not be believable. This game's story has all of those, but it takes it to the next level. If you tear out 10 pages of a short story, then another, and glue them all together, you're getting the idea of what I'm saying here. First, someone is trying to take over the world, then we're in virtual reality with mutated monsters, then we're back at Hayabusa Village. There's also an ancient temple-type setting, a snow-blind level, on and on. None of this ties in together hardly. I don't know where I am or what the hell I'm doing. There are cutscenes where the villain or heroes prattle on, but I honestly don't know what they're saying, and I mean that somewhat literally. It's like I'm paying attention, I'm hearing the words and understanding them, but when my brain gets them to process fully, it rejects them out of hand for sheer stupidity. I can't blame my brain, though. After all, they decided they needed to explore Ryu's human side as well, which is probably the worst idea ever for this series. This has always been about Hayabusa being a good guy killing machine with no questions asked. We've never questioned his humanity to this point, and neither has he, so it's just plain dumb to decide to do it now. Ninja are ninja, at least the fictional ones. They live by a code, they know what they've sworn themselves to, there's no character study necessary or justified. The whole thing is just a disaster. The action is inferior to the previous games in every way, and the supposedly deeper story falls incredibly short of being a welcome addition to a series that frankly didn't need it. The worst part about it, and it's probably the death knell of any game, is that as I was playing, it was clear as day what other games do all the things well that Ninja Gaiden tries to do and fails at. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance has much better control and action, and you feel like a ninja cyborg badass. Ninja Blade is a spoofy version of what Ninja Gaiden used to be. It has QTEs, but at least they're well done, and the game never takes itself that seriously. The combat is even better than Ninja Gaiden 3, and it's basically a knockoff of this series. So what the hell happened with this game? I had such high hopes for this one, and I'm really disappointed, obviously, as you can tell from the commentary. The first two games were so good, and maybe the reason that this one is such a head scratcher is because the team lead on the first two games jumped ship after the sequel. So that does kind of explain a lot. At the same time, I wonder why the people that were left couldn't simply follow the formula, and worst case, they might have cranked out a samey, kind of bland version of the first two games. I don't know why they had to change so much, and I don't know why the storytellers thought they were so much smarter than they really are. This is just the kind of thing that doesn't need to be injected into a full throttle action game. Now, if you look at the footage and you haven't played the game before, you might think the game actually looks really cool. Trust me, this game is the definition of uncool. It is not cool at all. Go ahead and buy one of the old games that I recommended. They're classics and they cost less than $10. Hell, buy one of the other games for the 360 or the PS3 that I mentioned at the end of the video. Just don't buy this one, even if it is only a few bucks. You'll hate the story, the combat will bore you to death, and you'll be wondering why you didn't take my advice and just pick up Ninja Gaiden Black or Ninja Gaiden Sigma. So, that's all for now. This is Snatch Gaming. I'm Mike. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, hit subscribe if you want to see more, and please comment below. I'd love to hear what you think about this game and the previous ones. See you next time.